Hey, Mamji. Hey, Josephine. Hey, Dr. O. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And Christina, welcome. Now, that piece is a piece of music that was composed for me by Matea Yan, and that's his name. And he is a genius of a composer. He is going to be helping me to turn. Let me just transfer that right now. Recently played radio show. Here we go. And he's helping me compose that piece of music for the movie that he's going to be writing, collaborating with me and several other musicians throughout the world that I've gathered, people that I trust, love, and respect their work. And they're going to be working with me on getting all of this together. So, sorry about yesterday. I had technical difficulties. I was trying to connect the computer over there in the studio. I've already got it 95% complete. Then I find out that the wires that I needed were the wrong ones. So there was some kind of a signal going to the computer from the software from this computer, which I needed to transfer over there, but it wasn't going fast enough. And so since this computer is at 900 megabits per second, it's a very fast computer. And it's a Mac Pro from 12 years ago. It's still good. It's still alive, and it's 1 terabyte of data in there, and it works. And so the other one is an iMac from 12 years ago, and I'm using that, and everything is working together. Today we're going to continue with the topic. So yesterday, sorry, let me finish that thought. Yesterday I couldn't continue because I wasn't able to get the software and the hardware to talk, and in doing so, I crashed this computer. So today was spent all day just fixing it. I couldn't even finish any writing at all because there was so many problems with this one. So I backed up everything in case this thing just freezes up and dies. And that's what I did. Everything's falling down. Because the tape that I used was not the good one. I started putting this up, and nothing quite like, don't buy local brands. Always buy 3M. And the 3M tape has stayed on for 10 years in this house, but this local stuff, $1 cheaper, but it's not so good in the long run. You end up paying for more. And I had broken one of my speakers because one of those metal things that I stuck on that usually stays on for life just kind of fell off. I hope that's not true of all the stuff that's in the studio. I haven't checked yet. So regardless, tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day. Today I wanted to continue and finish our discussion on how to balance spirituality with being practical and living in the real world. And somebody had said that somebody wanted me to finish the discussion about how to find peace of mind in these troubled times. If you go back 2 programs, which is probably Monday or Friday, you will hear where I talked about how to find peace of mind, especially in these very troubled times. And then so you'll be able to hear that. What we had talked about. There were so many points that I had made. I'm not going to repeat them again, but what I am going to do is run them through very, very fast with you and then go back to Friday's program so that you have them in front of you so you'll know. One of the ways in which you have to think about peace of mind is it's not a destination. It's something you choose now. You ask yourself a very simple question. If I had peace of mind, what would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it feel like? What would be the things that you would see, hear, taste, smell when you have peace of mind? How would your body be? What sort of tension state would it be in? And how relaxed would you be? So that you recognize it when you get there. Most people don't recognize it. Most people don't even know when they've achieved peace of mind. Wow, that's a storm brewing out. That was the sound of thunder out there, I guess. God agrees. That's peace of mind. What I just did is called labeling. When you start to ascribe reasons, for natural occurrences around you and start to imagine that that's God speaking to you or some other heavenly being or somebody who lost their peace of mind and because of one or two, the advice didn't work. So peace of mind is a daily thing. You've got to decide every day, okay, I'm going to do, it's not one big thing you do. It's 1,000 little things you do. And the collective is a life lived with a lot of peace of mind instead of pieces of mind. So it's not in the future. It's now. Choosing now to be at peace and then asking yourself questions. Why am I not? Why am I tense here? Why am I feeling pain here? Why am I feeling heavy here? And so on and so forth. And then you get to understand that we keep a lot of that tension inside of us. And that tension can breed and brood and become disease at some point. And that's when you are not at ease, dis-ease, and you're not at peace. So you want to get to that point. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. Life is about learning to dance in the rain that's about to come. And even if you anticipate it, if you are prepared for it, then those tough times don't seem that tough. If you have an umbrella to be able to stand out there right now, and that umbrella is made of cloth, and it's not a heavy rain, you'll be fine. If it's a heavy rain and winds, well, that cloth kisses goodbye. It's going to be carried out in the wind, and you won't be dry anymore. But instead, if you have a very army base, Swiss pocket knife type umbrella, well, that would steady you well in the high storms that are about to come. So one of the things you have to pay attention to is the secrets to getting through tough situations is to learn to trust yourself. Stop listening to advice. Stop listening to yeah, I'm giving advice. Stop listening to advice. Right. Stop listening to people, friends who are not qualified to give you advice, who haven't studied the mind, who haven't studied, who haven't had a breadth and depth of experience from which you can draw. Like drinking Lysol, does it help you with the virus? I don't think the fellow who said that was very bright. But then again, I'm not supposed to be making a lot of comments like that. Regardless, the point is, learn to trust yourself. If somebody tells you do things a particular way, your instinct will tell you that's not right. I mean, remember, instinct and ego are two separate things. You want to be able to understand what is the correct way to do something that in the long run will be good for you as well as everybody around you. There is an ecology about it. And the ecology demands that everybody is served by the decision that you make as well. You also, number two, have to learn to focus on what you're learning at any one point. When you make mistakes and you have setbacks, these are a form of practice for what is better. And so don't start becoming so heavy in yourself that you say, "Oh, I'm a mistake. I'm a person who makes mistakes. I'm clumsy person. I'm stupid." So on and so forth. And just because of one experience, or two, or three, or four, doesn't matter. One day you're going to get it right. One day it's going to be good, and one day you're going to see the fruits of your labor. Maybe it wasn't then. Why is it that some people succeed and you don't? Well, we hear about the people who succeed, but you don't hear about the people who don't. And that's the thing that happens with the law of attraction as well. And everybody looks at everybody else's experience, and you go to sites that are 6 million, 9 million people on it, and it's about the law of attraction. And how come it works for each and every one of those folks? You know, look at this guy. You wish for 30,000 and he got 30,000. He wished for a soulmate and da-da-da, and he got a dog, and he da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? And everybody has all these success stories. Why? Because those pages don't welcome, what's the opposite of success? Failure stories. They don't want to hear your failure stories. I used the law of attraction yesterday to get $1 million. And guess what happened? Nothing. For 3 years, I used the law of attraction to find the perfect woman in my life. And today, nothing happened. Nobody wants to write that. Nobody is interested in hearing those stories. So therefore, everything you see is all skewed. So only the people for whom something has happened report it and write about it and brag about it or blow it up. And so the people who are collecting all this data, the way they do it is very, very simple. They say, yeah, success. Okay, we'll put it here. We'll reach it here. 4 successes. That's great. I did everything, and the law of attraction didn't help me. Okay, next. Boom, 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 boom. And they start throwing it away and throwing it away and throwing it away. So all you see are all the successes. For everyone that succeeds using the quote unquote law of attraction, which is pure bullshit, by the way. I gotta show you a scientific way to use attraction, and then you neuropsychologically involved in making your future happen. Science. Regardless, for everyone that succeeds, there are 10,000 that fail. Those are the odds, and they're terrible. I know, but keep listening, and you'll be surprised. So keep focusing on what it is you want to learn. For me, I want to learn how to become independent, edit videos, do it myself, create the entire Anything is Possible movie by myself. Oops, I forgot to call the lawyer. Shoot. Let me make, because I'm doing pretty much everything by myself. So I got to call 2 lawyers, 3 actually, one for Japan, one for Thailand, one for the United States. And I got to handle all of these by myself, but it's okay. As long as you are organized and you stay organized, you keep using apps to be able to, and that's what I do. I have various things that are practical that needs to be done, and I make them happen. Even though in the mornings when I wake up, the first thing I do is I don't look at my messages. Oh, my phone is here, so I can't look at that. I don't look at my messages, but instead what I do is I listen to holy songs. Does it make any difference? Doesn't matter what they are. They could be Buddhist, they could be Hindu, they could be, it doesn't matter. What I do, in particular, I listen to this about 3 times. It's the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. I think you can find it online, and if you cannot find it online, I'll put that resource in the comments so you'll hear it. So I hear this and I relax and I let myself go. I don't think about the future. I don't think about what needs to be done. It sounds like this. I'll let you listen to it for a while. The reason why I started with a new intro is because Facebook has been stopping me. Actually, I should stop this right now. It's the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Because they silence your videos. If you play too much stuff that other people claim copyrights and what have you, and this and this and that and that. So I'm trying not to do that as well. Where is my stuff? Anyway, I listen to meditation, sounds, Om. I allow myself for about half an hour to just get into the groove of the day. And then I watch the sunrise, sunset, whichever day I decide to pray in the evening or at night. And I do it a lot. You'd be surprised. And what does that give me? Well, it gives me a little bit of groundedness, knowing that whether I'm drifting through this life, either on a boat or climbing towards an old goal, leading a horse towards a particular goal, and that horse being me, of course, each day is a journey. And it's a journey that takes me closer and closer to home. Because for sure, home is not here. Here, home is somewhere else. And that's what I tried to tell you last week when I shared my near-death experiences as well. Why do I do that? Because I recognize before I start email, before I start messages on my phone and anything like that, I need to ground myself in the understanding that this is not real, that where we live is not real, that the measurement, the yardstick that people give you to measure success is not correct. And if COVID-19 has a plus to it, then that plus point is that it has taught us that your money means nothing. You can and you will die. That money cannot bring you happiness or healthiness. You cannot get back into health just by that. It has to come from sheer force of will and from your desire to live very badly and to enjoy life. And also for you to be more cognizant of other people's pain and other people's struggles. Because if anything, this COVID-19 has brought the entire planet together. Before, you would have agencies of the United States, I shall not name them, and other propaganda people around the world trying to tell you that the enemy is this religious group, or the enemy is this nationalist group, or the enemy is this racial profile group. But it's not. The enemy is now invisible, and all of humanity is coming together, no matter what our color, no matter what our nationalistic origins or racial profiles or religious persuasion. We face mute gods as we approach these times that are heavy for all of us. And that's when we see the humanity. And sadly, the inhumanity as well that is around us. At the risk of pissing off Cherry and Abraham, and since I'm all over the place, and since I haven't got a programmer yet, so I'm not that structured. When I had my heart operation last year, July, August, September, can't remember. Everything went well. The first thing, everything was fine. The doctor was a little bit of a clown, and he decided to try a new piece of plate. How they do a bypass basically is they cut your bone, open your chest, look at your heart, bring it out, and say, they wipe it clean with sandpaper, do whatever they do, and they connect, ooh, ha, 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 and everything is there, and things are okay. And so there's better flow. Then they put it back, and they stitch your chest together, and put your bones together, and there's a plate that's holding everything. But the guy used an experimental plate. Something that's not used before, and it was too large. It was a simple thing that happened in the middle of the night as I was stretching for something which should not happen at all. A wire would have been just fine, which is what everybody does. And boom, I felt a crack. And I moved a little bit, cracked a bit, and everybody said it's impossible. Now, I was supposed to be out in a couple of days, 3-4 days. I was supposed to be okay, a week, and I'm fine. All the physiotherapists were trying to get me to move and do this and do that. And I felt massive pain to the point where I actually fired them. They were all doctors, but I fired them. And I said, I'm not going to listen to you. You can come, you can sit here, you can bring me an apple, you can feed me or do something, but leave. Now, I was not supposed to make it through this time because they didn't believe me for 5 days. They didn't believe me. Something broke. The doctor said impossible. They took an x-ray. It was impossible. They couldn't see anything. I said, something is moving. So I finally had enough. I grabbed the guy's hand. I put it on my chest. And I said, feel this. I'm going to move. And he did this and he went, holy, something is broken. You think? And I said, okay. So he started to say that, okay, we need to do something about this. And all that time, the wires had broken, the plates were broken, screws came out, and I could feel them. I could feel their relative positions. I think the reason why I could feel them is because from 17 or 18 years of age, I had prepared myself with a form of meditation I learned from the Rosicrucians, and from other groups, and a Tibetan Lama who had taught me also, to focus and follow everything that goes into my body. I could follow a drop until it reaches cells and things like that. It took practice. It wasn't easy, but it took practice. And so I knew where everything was, and I knew what it was, and in whatever place it was in. So it's a little bit strange of a situation. When they took me apart again, 5 days later, 8 days later, I can't remember, I was already in excruciating pain. And the nurse described it like this. And there is a reason I'm telling you this, and I'll come to it in 1 minute. When they cut me open again, my ribs this time went out of my chest. She said they've never seen anything like that. Blood was everywhere because my pectorals were sliced like bologna because of the sharp wires that were broken. And every time I moved, they were cutting me like bologna. And it was very, very interesting. And I wasn't in, I was out of it and in some vegetative state of some kind. And I had gone to where I usually go. Yes. And I remember some of it now. But it wasn't yet my time. So when they didn't know what to do because the plate had broken, there's nothing else to do, and my ribs were not going to be attached to anything. So what happened was he had a consult with the other person from Australia who told him what to do. And instead, my ribs, now I have not a plate, but I have titanium plates connecting my ribs here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. And it's like I'm titanium, just like the song. That's a fun thing to have at the airport. But regardless, it's what I have. So I'm bulletproof as well. I got to tell Dave Asprey this joke and he'll know it. So when I finally came to, no one expected me to make it because of the loss of blood, and stuff had to be sewn together and everything. And I couldn't feel everything. And it was very interesting. And my bed was one of those cardiac beds, that was put at a little bit of an angle so that my lungs could drain down instead of drowning me with all the fluids. In the middle and the quiet of that ward, I don't remember the number. It was at Mount Elizabeth Hospital in Novena. And I was in this ward on the 12th floor, I think. And the nurses were very cool, very nice people. And I remember in the ICU, I saw a lot of dead people moving out of bodies and heading home, quote unquote. They would die slowly, one by one by one. I even had an experience where I was lying down and it was in the daytime, and one of the nurses was a Filipino guy, very nice guy, and he looked after me, and we became friends later. And I thought he had come in because I heard the door move, and I can't move my head because it's all behind me, and the door is behind me. And he moved. He walked in, and he wasn't listening to me. I said, "Hey, Mike, are you there?" He said, "Yep." He didn't say anything. I thought he would say "yep," something like that, but he didn't say anything. So I thought he had earphones on. But instead, he started writing something. You know, you can hear it when somebody's writing something on a piece of paper. And he did write something, and then he clicked off one or two uh, switches on the machine. And I said to him, "I hope that was not anything important." I was joking with him. And he just switched them off. And next thing I know, boom, no sound. And then the real mic came in. And I said, "Wow, holy crap. Was that you just now?" He said, "No." "What did you hear, Dr. Gill?" I said, I told him what I heard. I heard the thing, and I heard somebody switch off the machines. And he said, "Oh, okay." And then what? I think they just died for something, or they left. He wasn't here long, but he's still there. The part of him that is non-corporeal, non-real was there. And he didn't see anyone, obviously, but I could feel him. I said, "Yep, he's still there, but I can't turn my head." So it was very difficult. And okay, tell me what he did. And I said, "Okay, great." Ask him, did he switch the machine off, the particular machine that was giving him a respirator, giving him air? He said, "Yes." I said, "Yes." "Okay, what's his name?" And I told him his name. And he said, "Oh my God." And he went out and got another friend because he got freaked out. And he said, just last week, somebody with this name died, and they don't know if he died because the machine was accidentally switched off or he did it himself. And he said, well, confirmed, he did it himself because he was too much pain. He didn't want to feel too much pain, and it was so much, was some sort of cancer that was growing, and the pain was immense. He couldn't bear it anymore. And he said, "Yeah, exactly." And that's what it is. So somehow my senses became heightened. I could see and walk between two worlds. When they put me at the ward, finally, I mean, people were coming. Can you imagine an ICU? Everybody coming and saying, "Can you see my father? Can you see my mother? Can you see my uncle? Can you connect with so on and so forth?" And then ask me, "Is that a ghost over there?" I said, No, that's not. And then I found out that this whole place was built on a Jewish Armenian graveyard. Hence the expression that some of them were not dead patients, but they were actually buried there. So the ground has been violated without any kind of sanctity given to it. See, if you do respectful little acts and rituals, then you can make something safe to be in and live in. So I was in my ward, and in the middle of the night, I'm lying down, and I sleep like this because they don't want the lungs to get a lot of water. And all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm awake, and I'm staring at the ceiling. My bed from here became like this. It's a cardiology bed. And I said it becomes a chair, it becomes a bed, but it became like this. And I called the nurse and I said, "Excuse me," and they screamed at me and said, "What are you doing?" I didn't do this. I said, "You must have hit the button by mistake." And I didn't do this. I did not do this. And so they kept watching me, and they put the bed control, which is actually outside. There's no way I could reach it. And 4 hours later, they found me again in the same position. And they said, "There's something you're hitting, Dr. Gill, that's making everything go back to this way." I said, "No, I think I seen and felt this woman that comes. She comes out from that corner over there, and she's very short, very plump, and I thought she was a nurse, but might have been a nun. The cloth that she wore was very thick and very old. And I can smell her, kind of know but her intent is very good." Now, here's the interesting part. Next to her, behind her, This was the tune. Looped, played over. I don't know how to explain it, but every night she would come and she would touch my thigh on the outside. And now where she touched on this side, on that side, is still numb. I mean, that was months ago, 9 months ago, maybe. It's still numb. I don't have any more feeling there. And no one, even doctors, can explain that. I said, because the touch was like fire and my whole body burned like crazy. And I don't know how to explain that. So I'm in a freezing room. I brought the temperature down to 16 degrees. And it's a negative pressure room, which means that it's not possible for any other contaminant or anything to be there. And every night the same thing would happen. And she would come, she would touch me, and this prayer would be on, and she would go down. Now, one of the nurses, thankfully, believed me enough to investigate. So on her day off, or night off, she came and sat in the chaise lounge or something that was near the bed, not too far. It was a very big room. And wanted to see what this was all about. So I'm asleep, and she said around about 1:30, which is the time I said that this woman comes, this entity. And she said around that time, she was suddenly awoke, and because she heard my bed go creak, 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 and she could hear the creaking going down. And she turned on the light because she freaked her out. And even with the light on, it was still going down, lower and lower. And I was sleeping it out of it, obviously, and I'm not touching any buttons. So she brought the thing back up, the bed, and she turned off the electricity, pulling the wire off the wall. And she watched, this time with the lights on, because it freaked her out a little bit. And she said about 45 minutes later, when she was almost asleep, the same thing happened again. And this time with no electricity, the bed was going down. Creak, creak, creak. I remind you that repairmen were called in that week to figure out what was wrong with the bed, the hydraulics, the this, the that, the that. Nothing was wrong with it. They can't explain it. And here, now without electricity, it was going down. And so she reached out to pull the bed, the side bars of the bed back. And she said something hot, like a hot hand, grabbed her hand and pulled her off to allow me to go down there. She told me all this in the daytime, in the morning, because what happened was she freaked and she left the room in a hurry and went to the nurses' station where there were nurses and other people. And I said to her in the morning, thank you for leaving me alone, number one. Number two, we know what will happen in times of distress. You'll be the first one to run. That's good to know. But regardless, it freaked out all of the nurses over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, every time I was there. They would come in not very often into my place and only in the daytime, or they'll leave the light on, or they'll leave the curtain wide apart and they'll want to watch and see what happens. So again, why did I bring this up? Because somewhere inside of you, whether or not you are going to get COVID or not, you have to understand, even if you're healthy, and you live a healthy life without even seeing this virus that's going around right now, you have to anchor yourself to something that is more powerful than you can ever hope to be in a billion years. For me, that training started when I was a teenager and continued when I lost my arm and everything else happened. And I think it was all planned. It was part of a greater plan to be able to serve. And how could you serve unless you've been through the harshest difficulties? And I was not meant to die. And this woman is still there at Mount Elizabeth, by the way. She's still there. And this short little lady, an Armenian, actually, by descent. And she goes around selecting in the hospital who she wants to heal. Oh, the other thing is the nurse who stayed overnight, she said, uh, as I saw this thing moving and as I felt this thing, the hand pulled her off, and in the middle of the night just gave her a hot kiss on the head, on the forehead, and for looking after me. That was very wild. And she said she heard this music, this thing that I just played for you in Aramaic. A little bit difficult for me to tell you who I am or what I am right now and why I'm here. I'm here to teach as much as I can, to be able to give you solutions to remove obstacles in your life, whether they're emotional, mental, physical, psychic, or otherwise. And if there's anything I can do to make it easier for you, I'm there. I don't have to be physically there, but somehow if you connect with me and pick up the phone and say, hey, I have a problem with something, a part of me knows to be there to help you. I don't know why. My job is to do this freely. There are people that take advantage of that, and there are people that abuse that trust and that responsibility, and there are people that hurt. Yeah, okay, they come with life. The trick is not to let them alter your path. And your path is the chosen path. With every garden, there's not all sweet tomatoes and flowers and fruits. Some are quite sour. You learn to avoid those. They give them to the people that like sour. Maybe that's their experience. Somewhere along life, you want to help, but there's not everybody that's looking for help. And you must only help the people that that ask. You know, the old joke, how many psychologists does it take to screw in a light bulb? One. But the light bulb must want to change. So focus on your learning and ground yourself to something larger than yourself. It could be a cause, Don Quixote or otherwise. You will feel as if you are a significant part of what's going on. And don't think that just because there are some big hoo-has out there who are making a big noise, hey, look at me, I'm Zimbabwe boom and Zimbabwe boom and whatever, ba ba ba. That's great. That's fantastic. That's for them. You don't have to be like them. You don't have to have the kind of money that these people have. It's not necessary. You found out in this the world is finding out in this entire COVID era that you don't need a lot to be able to survive. All you need is the food you eat for the day, fruits, vegetables, if you can. Maybe meat is hard to get in some areas right now, so you make do with everything you have. For the first time, coffee tastes so good, since now you cannot go to Starbucks or Costas or anywhere. And the stuff you make at home is so good, it's amazing. You found out that some people love toilet paper a lot. You don't know why, you don't want to know why. But it's interesting to see who this time has brought up a very interesting metaphor that I heard from a dear friend of mine who's no longer with us. And I wonder what he would say about this whole thing, Wayne Dyer. I remember when he had come to watch me in one of my seminars and wanted to give me a critique. And this was early 1990, maybe 89, somewhere around there. And we were both in Chicago at that time. And I wanted him to hear me speak, but I also wanted to hear him speak. And I was giving a talk where? Some free thing. I can't remember where. Damn, it might even be 1991. No, I remember now. Singapore. Sorry, it wasn't Chicago. It was Singapore. It felt so comfortable. I don't know why. 1991, Singapore. And we were both speaking at a Terry O'Connell's talk big hoo-ha. Before there was Success Resources, there was Terry O'Connell. Beautiful man, unlike the current people that run the operations I just mentioned. This man had full integrity, and it was amazing. I don't know what he's doing now, but if he's there, I'll support him. And he came and listened, and I listened to him, and he told a story. And the story was about a game that he used to play when he was much younger. They would get an apple and they would skin it with a knife, with a penknife or a Swiss Army knife, and they would try not to break the skin as they peeled around the apple all the way down to the end. And then to trick people, they would take that skin, it's just one piece, and wrap it around an orange about the same size. And then take the stalk from the apple and put it on top of the orange and just kind of hold it all together with something. And so it would fool a lot of people who would pick it up. And then when they're expecting apple, this whole thing to taste like apple, it tastes like oranges and skin. And why? What was the metaphor about? Well, he says, on the surface, people look the same. People look calm. People look stable. People look courageous, happy, whatever the case might be. I mean, some people who are happiness coaches are the most unhappy people in the world. Holy wow. Okay. So and vice versa, and very other things. And so he said, under pressure, when you squeeze an apple, you'll get apple juice. But when you squeeze a fake apple, you will get orange juice. So under pressure, you will know a person's true character and true build. And when I look at certain people who are under a tremendous amount of pressure, like my brother, my younger brother, tremendous pressure, but he holds himself so well. He truly is that stuff of which heroes are made and champions are made. When I see other people, like his former boss and all of that, they're fakes. They really are. So these times will pull out the best in people and the worst in people. To be able to reach that peace of mind, you have to ease your expectations of everybody around you if you want spiritual peace of mind. And this is the balance between spirituality and practicality as well. You have to also allow yourself to open up, if you don't, to someone you trust. And if there's nobody you trust because of their mental state, emotional state, and things they're going through, then there is the invisible world, and you got to pay attention to that. A higher force, if you will, or your creative unconscious mind. And always have hope. Have a project bigger than you. Have a goal bigger than you. And always go for the goal. It's not about reaching the goal. It's about the journey towards it and the things you do to make that happen. If it's something worthwhile that serves humanity, then guess what? As you move towards it, instead of away from, naturally you move away from everything boring and you move away towards everything exciting. And there'll be all kinds of challenges ahead. And always assess your life at every point, every hour if you want to, but I would do it like once every 2 or 3 days. Give yourself time to breathe, give yourself time to relax, and also at the same time, give yourself the ability to be able to find the beginnings in every ending in your life, and you'd be surprised. So now, wow, how time passes. I wanted to do this only for an hour every day. So what I'm going to do is make it go just a little bit. And besides, I think there is a limit to how many hours I can do on this thing, unless I bump it up to a higher thing. And at some point, I will call in my friends, the ones who helped me make the Meta Secret, Bob, Joe, and all these other folks, and I'll bring them on board. For now, I'm learning the technology, and when I learn how to use it and I move to the real recording room, then I'll bring them on board and we'll start talking. So if you have any questions for me right now, I'm watching my Facebook over there, and that will help me read. And I'm also watching this over here in StreamYard. And so this will help me also give your, find out what's happening with you as well. So now's a good time to ask me questions, if you will. Somebody asked me a question. I think it was Ivan from Kenya. And Ivan wants to know about the excuse me. Wow. The unconscious mind. There's not a lot that we know about it. There are a lot of people that will tell you we're only using 10% of our brain, but that's a myth. That's not true. We are using all of our brains. And if you want to know something a little bit counterintuitive, geniuses use less of their brain. There's an economy in what they use. It's very interesting. And that we are using all of our brains all of the time. Some of the functions, some of the things that are happening in parts of our brain, we're not quite sure what it is and what it does in relation to everything else. But you have to know that there's an intuitive faculty inside of us, and we call it many things. Intuitive means that for some reason it bypasses the flow of logic. If this, then this. If not, then that. If not, then this. Then this. Then this. Then this. So let's call it not linear logic. Let's call it a three-dimensional, non-spatial, non-corporeal logic. A logic that cannot be understood because we're using parts of our consciousness that we're not aware of. So, in other words, if you are not paying attention to let's say the temperature outside, you wouldn't even know. But unconsciously, something does. So in your field of vision, if you see this, I can't see this, StreamYard. There we go. See this little thing. So you got a big screen around. Let me try and draw out the screen. So here is the screen. Goes down this way, it goes down this way, and it goes up this way. Wow, that was hard to do. And let's say your consciousness is about the size of this coin. I'm going to put it in the bottom left. Now, your ability to focus on one thing at a time allows you to see the coin and not much else. But there's a part of you that's paying attention to everything around me. Every word, every book, every title, every picture, every hoo-ha that's happening all around me. You're paying attention to all that. You even know how many hairs I have on my head, and so on and so forth. And voila, voila, voila. And if I put you in a hypnotic trance, because hypnosis is the tool we use to access that. In other words, we put you in an alpha rhythm where your conscious mind is not paying attention. Conscious mind functions at a beta rhythm or a gamma rhythm that we're not clear what creates it, makes it happen, makes it so, and makes it functional, and allows us to be these sentient beings that we are. Regardless, we put you in a hypnotic trance, in an alpha rhythm, theta rhythm, whichever the case might be, and then we ask you a question. 1 year ago, this very day, what did you have for dinner? And you'll be able to tell us right down to the very last grain of rice what you had, and the temperature of the food, and the temperature of the room, and all the other details and environments that's all around. Now, apart from creating memories that don't exist, which is possible in a hypnotic state as well, there's also the ability for you to remember every detail that usually you wouldn't. This is why hypnotherapists and hypnotists are used to help police identify hit and run perpetrators, the people who knock over somebody and then just keep driving off. Now, of course, consciously you won't be paying attention to license plates and all that, but unconsciously you're clear about what the license plate is, and then the police hunt those people down. Accuracy is pretty damn close to 90-95%. So what does that mean? That means that if you allow yourself to stay calm, then your intuitive state starts to draw from you from all around you, all pieces of information that allows you to make the right decision at the right time, to be able to listen to a person and know exactly what's happening with them, and to be able to not be persuaded to use logic in some cases. It's very difficult to do. So pay attention to that. The calmer you are, whether or not you anchor yourself to a spiritual higher force or a creative unconscious mind that's inside of you, and paying attention to the silence. And the more silent you are, the more your thoughts begin to, before it's like this, and it starts to then float, and then pretty soon there's nothing. Now, you got to guard against falling asleep, because the tendency for a lot of people at that point is, yes, I'm paying attention to my breathing. And I feel, and they fall asleep. Sleep deprived people, for them, this will be very tough. But if you sit up in a chair, as uncomfortable as it can be, so that you're not, falling off asleep, nodding, don't do this lying down, but sit comfortably and listen to a monotone in an alpha rhythm or a theta rhythm. I'll give you resources for that here. I'm not sure how to use this, but I will maybe make a connection for the music and the parts here, or somebody's going to have to teach me this at some point, and then you'll have all of this so you can play with. This is meant to be public. It's meant for everyone to use, so that you'll be able to become better as part of humanity and help everybody else as well. So like water that's not disturbed but calm, you'll be able to see all the way through to the beginning, to the ending, to where your life ends, and where every ending is actually a beginning. I had an ending yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday, but it's a beginning for me, a wonderful beginning. I have such experiences 3-4 times a week, not just with people, but with plans, with projects, with little action things we do along the way. So I do this a lot. I let go. And you have to learn to do this, because that's ultimately what you have to do as well. Let go. So if you have any questions, people, I'm here to answer them. We're doing well. 9:30 we started. It's only 10:25. Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow and day after, I will also broadcast. And if you want to build your intuition, maybe I have time to talk about this. Yeah. What do intuitive people or highly intuitive people do? Well, like me, they take time for solitude. People are asking me, how do you deal with this alone time? Is it because you have a gorgeous, beautiful garden, waterfall and everything outside, and a beautiful studio in which to work, and all your resources, books, and everything else here? Beautiful, supportive family? Yes, but I spend a lot of time alone. And naturally, I keep myself away from my parents, because my mother is 87, my father is 92, and I am out there buying groceries and doing whatever is necessary and looking after them during this period. And I don't want them to go out into these cesspools of disease out there, where people are not washing their hands, people are not wearing masks. I mean, come on, think about it. I mean, you are a jogger and you are not wearing a mask because somehow your speed of jogging will outpace the bacteria in the air. Thank you. I don't argue. I just put a mask everywhere I go. Doesn't matter if it's hard to breathe. I just never take it off. So what do I do? Well, I look at my situation now, and even if COVID was over and there's no more virus in the air, this is still my life. It's in complete isolation, almost complete isolation. And And I don't meet a lot of people. I don't, because for what? Doesn't do anything. And somebody has a bright idea about what I should do and join them to do stuff and da 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 da. And so far, it hasn't worked out in my best interest. So I'm not going to continue doing that. I'm just going to do everything here. It's safe. It's fun. It's interesting, and I get to meditate more. So sometimes you'll find me not here. I don't exist here. Some toxic people I've told to go F themselves directly, because I don't want to be with them. I don't want to be in their presence as well. For what? I don't need to. And so, but some other people I connect with daily if I can, and see what they need and how I can help them with that. So I take a lot of time for solitude, because solitude creates creativity, allows me to have creative thinking, and creative thinking makes you very intuitive, because you are looking at the completion of things instead of the ending of things, and you start to engage into deeper thoughts about the meaning of what you do. I'm the kind of person that would spend so much effort and time on detail, like the Tibetan monks would do the sand ritual prayers. And what they do is they create a mandala that's about 10 foot by 10 foot, and the mandala is very intricate, and they would use nothing but a little container, much like this pen, that puts colored sand in different places, and they would follow designs, and they'll be so intricate. It's so beautiful, so amazing, that at the end of a couple of weeks doing this, or 3 weeks doing this, they all admire it, and they admire their work, but they're not attached to it. They do a prayer, "Oh, money brought me home," and da 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 da, and then take a broom and they sweep it. They sweep all the sand together, only to begin another mandala at some point. The metaphor, and it's a constructive, practical metaphor for our lives as well. We build beautiful things because we can build beautiful things, beautiful relationships, beautiful friendships, beautiful art, beautiful books, beautiful radio program, beautiful paintings of whatever, and so on and so forth, songs even. And so as we create them, we don't get too attached. That's the process I used in the last 12 years as I wrote 157 books. Each one was a labor of love. I mean, I poured myself into it and then let it go and went on to the next one. If you ask me now, I see them and I said, wow, I wrote those. Okay, interesting. But I just let it go. And in the same way, I let the Meta Secret go, although we're picking it up and doing something with it now, a little bit different. 5 more Meta Secret books will show up, and a few other things we'll do. And I'm in the midst of a creative throw, and it's very interesting. And Anna asked a question, Mel, will you share more in detail this Tibetan practice of healing that you mentioned earlier? Remind me again, the practice of healing? Earlier today? Or earlier some other time? Remind me. If it's today, I don't think I mentioned it. If you're talking about Tummo yoga, Tummo, Tummo yoga is different from the normal practice. If you're talking about that kind of healing, I can teach you now. Do it very simply. 10:30, yes. Following the drop. Oh, yeah, that one. Okay. That takes time, though. That takes a lot of practice. Which one shall I do first? How about we'll just talk roughly about the drop of water first. And then we'll go into Tummo, or the basis of Tummo. Here is water. Can I see myself? What the heck happened to my screen? Oh, here we are. Water. I take a look at it and I'm conscious of it. I'm paying attention to it. You do this with a glass of water or whatever it is you're holding on to. Now, hold it and do what I do. And follow my thinking as I do this. I see the water and I'm aware of its flexibility, if you will, its permeability, its ability to flow, and its viscosity. It's got a certain viscosity about it. So it's not so thick, it's not so thin, it's water. I'm seeing it. It's got a certain temperature. I'm paying attention to the properties of the water. And this one smells a little lemony because I had put lemon and baking soda earlier. But this one is pure water. It just continued with the smell. And so I'm about to put this into myself with one expressed purpose, and that's to hydrate my cells in my body. Because the more you keep your cells hydrated, the more the mitochondria can do their job in producing adenosine triphosphate, which is the fuel your body needs to grow and to repair and to create immune responses that are appropriate. I look at the water, it's clear, and I let it go in my mouth. Oh, okay. When it's in my mouth, I'm not going to be able to talk. So let me tell you what I do. I put it first enough, not to the point where your mouth is overflowing, but just enough. Just, you'll know what enough is. Enough is comfortable. And I put enough of it, maybe about, if you want a measurement, maybe about 5 of these little caps full. Yeah, that's enough. And I put it in my mouth. I swirl it around a little bit, and I mentally congeal it into one place, and then I swallow it. And the minute I swallow it, I follow it, knowing that it's splashing on the sides of my esophagus, trachea, going down into my gullet, into my stomach. And for some of you, you may feel it at this point and it will disappear. It's okay. For some of you, will feel it at this point, it will disappear because it's already being absorbed in your system. Your blood, the exchange between your lungs and the air and and the blood in the air and the blood in the water and the blood in the stomach is amazing. It just pulls everything right immediately. The level that I can take this to is that I've trained myself so that it comes here and I can feel it at the opening of my stomach, my gut. And then I feel it splash through, spread out, and coat the acidity in the system. And then I feel the water being picked up, or the liquid H2O being picked up by the blood and going off until I can feel it here and here in my chest. And then if I'm in complete silence, and if I built myself up with about half an hour of combined meditation and prayer, I can feel it, the water in my fingertips. Don't be distraught. This took, if you can't do it, because this took for me 30, 40 years to practice. So start. Doesn't hurt to begin now. For some reason, I can feel it going out more on my right side than on my left. I don't know why. But I don't direct it. I let it flow and I follow it. And I follow it to my fingers. And you can test, what's it called? Litmus paper. Have some litmus paper handy and you can test how much comes through. It's all instant, literally very fast. The litmus paper picks up the moisture in your hand so much faster, and you'll be able to feel it. And almost always you'll see that it will become as pure water as the water you can have. My water is distilled. I don't drink any other water except distilled water because I don't want too many minerals in my water as well. It's easier in the long run for your body because your body can take it from every other food and everything else that you need. So once in a while, you will feel a need to drink some mineral water, but go ahead and do that. That's listening to your intuitive self. Now, the other Tumu Yoga, which will help you actually burn off the viruses from your system, is this. Your root chakra, I'll use the word chakra because there's no other way to do it. We call it meridian points in Chinese. But you are an electrical system with more than 107 different meridian points. But the main ones are close to your spine. The seventh is so amazing that it's actually outside your body, believe it or not. Then you have the others, but we're dealing only with the sacral, the one at the bottom. And that's, if you want to know where that is, it's between your rectum, your asshole, and for men, the base of your testicles. For women, the base of your vagina. There's that little perineum, the skin. It is an inch inside the perineum. An inch is about like that. What is that in cm? 2.5 cm, maybe, I think. I'm not sure. But it's there. It's a sacred chakra. Now, if you put your hand like this, and this finger, the index finger, is on your other hole, your belly button, just on your belly button, and put this finger in your belly button, and this one down flat below it. Where this last finger is your, what the Chinese call the dantian. What the Indians call is another long 15-syllable name. And it is your center of gravity, more or less, the center of where you hold your core and everything that you believe in, and so on and so forth. And I'll tell you how it works with confidence and ability and psychic ability and projection, all of that later. But I'm teaching you something very special, and this is what they take years to do. So what you do is you imagine a fire starting at that sacral first chakra point, and imagine a flame, if you will, a wood-burning flame, fire. You've had fire of some kind, and you could watch a movie called The Quest for Fire and see where it all began. I don't know if you remember many years ago when it came out, but the fire begins there, and you hold the fire in, but it's getting more and more intense. So in other words, you hold the fire in, and then slowly, when you have enough of a flame and you can feel the heat, you'll actually start to get very warm down there. Some of you might have erotic feelings and all that. It's okay. It's par for the course. It happens. And so what you want to do is release all of that, and let it go to the dantian, the center of gravity point. So now, by the way, it doesn't go like this forward. Let me use this computer. It doesn't go like that. It goes literally straight up and down along the spine. Just boom, 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 boom. And let it go back and forth like that until it feels as if there's massive friction taking place. And you can do this, which is what I do. I move my spine and allow it to happen, and I set it up. And when I set it up, the air conditioning and all this is not cool enough to make me feel. Don't let it go to any other part of your body yet. Just build it up for about several minutes, 15, 20 minutes. Let it happen. What they do is they take a deep breath at the end of 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, and allow that fire to go through their entire body. They feel that this fire agna is a spiritual fire that burns all bacteria, viruses, contagion in your body. Literally, they explode. Boom, 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 boom. Those who practice this, example, yours truly, if you do some sort of a bioresonant experiment and they measure your bacteria in your body, you should be around 20 to 30%. You will find that yours will be close to 0.1% or less. Impossible. Sounds impossible, but it's true. And practice, practice, practice makes perfect. What these guys do, the Tibetan monks, is they raise it to such a level that they raise their body temperatures by as much as 17 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in centigrade. And they compete with each other in burning the snow, melting the snow around them with this heat. And so they never freeze. This is also taught not just in Tibet, but also taught by Shaolin monks to their young monks, so that when it's hot out there, and let's say you're wearing a coat like this, and it's 95 degrees outside, how do you not perspire? How do you not feel hot? Because your mind is going down into pulling that flame in a reverse direction. So you cool yourself down like a waterfall, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. Now, mind you, this will not be effective if your mind is darting all over the place. You have this monkey mind, and it's not able to do that. So the more calm you are, the more easy it is, and everybody will complain around you that it's so cold, it's so cold, it's so cold, I'm freezing. And that's why I am in Varna mostly through the winter, if I can, because the winters get to be harsh there. And I hate it when it's summer and all of that. I can't practice too much. Who wants to do the reverse for what? It becomes a little bit more difficult. It's raining like crazy outside. How beautiful. So practice that, Anna. I hope that will help you. And with time, it's not immediate. In time, you will get so good at this. And how much time? Months, years? I don't know. It depends on how faithful you are in executing this. Some people say, oh, you should only do it 5 minutes a day. No, bullshit. You can do it all day if you want. Do it as much as you want. So it's going to be very good. Okay? And you'll be surprised. You will find that you will never get sick as well. Especially from viruses and bacteria and da. And you find that you'll be away from a lot of infections that people have. And women, you know what I mean. You can prevent those kind of things from happening as well. Unless, if you are having sex with somebody who has that ability, he or she will burn that from you also. If you are two-timing that person and having sex with a whole number of people, then it's very difficult to burn it off. It takes time. And part of their instincts pull away from you. And you'll feel it. You'll feel it straight away. You can use this in an advanced state, in its advanced form, to do distance. Send the fire through distance. That takes practice and calm. So calmness helps you. I hope it helps you. Is there any other questions that anybody needs answered at this point? Because I should call it a day and then we are done. Then today at least I went an hour and a half. Maybe. Who knows? Sometimes we have to put dead things to rest, you know? Like I said before, the culmination of one love or one dream, oneself, is sometimes the beginning or the anonymous seed of another. And we don't know what the future holds for us. We can try to determine that, and it's going to be very, very difficult. is very little difference in burying something, a relationship, a goal, a loved, cherished ideal, dream. There's very little difference between burying it and planting it. It's very often that we need to put dead things to rest so that new life can grow. And if we don't, we will feel that all of this has been for nothing. That we hold on to the past, trying to recreate the happiness that we used to feel with this person or that person or this object and that object. I remember the story that was told in the time of the Buddha. A woman had just gotten married, and the man was the love of her life, but he started to fool around with other women, and that broke her heart. And she cried every night. But one day, she found that she was pregnant and she had a child, a son. And soon she stopped crying about the husband, but focused entirely on the child. And her life was changed. She now had this joy, this spark inside of her that came out, and now is this beautiful child that she could focus on. The child brought her happiness for many years until it was about 3 or 6 months old. Many months, not years. And it died of a fever that was sweeping the whole village at that time. And she would have the child bundled across her with a cloth. And the people, her friends and her family and everybody in the village told her that your child is dead. You should let go and bury him. She said, no, he's not dead. He's sleeping. He's coming back. Don't worry. And this went on for 2 or 3 months until the corpse of the baby was getting bad. But still, she didn't want to pay attention to it because she held on to that child, that love of her life, that everything that was meaningful for her was there in front of her, wrapped around her. She was looking for medicine, looking for a doctor that would somehow resuscitate the child. And so everybody took pity on her until one man approached her and said, there is one person that has medicine for you that will wake your child up. She said, who, where? It's that guy under the tree over there. His name is Buddha. Ask him. So she approached him and said, Master, my child is sleeping, and they told me that you are the only one that had the medicine that could wake him up. Is that true? He nodded his head and said, yes, woman, I can do that. But you have to find me the ingredients for this medicine first, so that I can put it together. So he gave her a list of different flowers and different things and different herbs and different elements and different barks of different trees. And finally he said, you have to find a flower from a home where no one has died. Unless we have that flower, this will not work. She was frantic. She found all of the other medicines necessary, put it all together, gave it to him, and went around searching. She took 2 months searching, 8 weeks searching for that flower, because every house that she knocked on, someone had died. A father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a child, a cousin, an aunt. Someone had died. So she couldn't find that flower, and she finally one day sat under the tree that's similar to the one that he sat under, and she finally realized the truth. that death was an inevitable part of life. The death of a relationship, the death of an ideal, the death of a long cherished goal, the death of an idea, a book. So she slowly unwrapped the child, dug a hole in the graveyard, buried her child with prayers, and released him finally. And in doing so, she wasn't burying a child, but she was planting the seeds of a future where she could become a teacher, to teach other people not to hold on so tightly to that. And she gave up everything and just followed this enlightened person, master. When we put things to rest, whether it's a loved one, a dream, or a false way of seeing things, that thing becomes the fertilizer for a new life that's about to form. And this is something they never teach us in school, how to let go. Something we learned the hard way. And this well-used thing that joins with the earth, the old love fertilizes the new, the broken dream fertilizes the dream that's yet to be conceived, and the painful way of being that straps us to the world fertilizes the inner, freer stance that's about to unfold. You know, this is very helpful when considering the many forms of self that we inhabit over a lifetime. One self carries us to the extent of its usefulness and dies, and then we are forced to put that once beloved skin to rest, to join it with the ground of spirit from which it came, so that it may fertilize the next skin of self that will carry us into tomorrow. And we have no idea what that's going to look like. As I talk to you, I'm looking at a picture. Why do I look at this picture all the time? Because there's always grief for what is lost, and always surprise at what is to be born again. But people, much of our pain, much of the sadness we hold inside of ourselves as we live, comes from wearing a dead and useless skin, refusing to put it to rest, or from burying such things with the intent of hiding them rather than relinquishing them to their natural cause, destiny. For every new way of being, there is a failed attempt that's mulching between the tongue, and for every sprig that breaks surface, there's an old stick that's stirring underneath. And for every moment of joy sprouting, there's a new moment of struggle taking root. We live, we embrace, and we put to rest our dearest things, including how we see ourselves, so that we can resurrect our lives anew. And isn't that what we're all supposed to do? I'm here as a reminder every night of what are things you already know, or at least a part of you already knows or is aware of. I'm here to awaken the teachers who are sleeping, not awake, to teach. You can do with me what you like. I don't care. I just do what I need to do, and then I'm gone. Tomorrow we broadcast again at 9:30 p.m. Singapore time. 9:30 a.m. New York time, 4:30 p.m. Bulgarian time. You've been listening to Uncommon Sense, and you're listening to the voice of Dr. Mel Gill. I want to thank you for joining me. Tomorrow we'll finish everything we said we were going to finish today. For tonight, I ask you to pay particular attention only to one thing. That you may or may not make it till morning. The picture I was looking at was a friend. Who reminded me before he died that he had no wish to become a millionaire, billionaire, no wish to find the love of his life, because his life was love. I asked him, now what you looking for? What do you want that I can give you? He says, if you are who you say you are, I want to see one more sunrise, just one, and then let me go. He got to see his sunrise. He got to see his morning. And after a breakfast of fruit, he died. We'll see you tomorrow.
In the moment of my life, minutes take so long to drift away. Please be patient with your life. It's only morning and you're still to live your day. In the evening, I will fly you to the moon, to the top right hand corner of the ceiling in my room, where we'll stay until the sun shines another day. To swing on close line, may I be your name. This the morning of my life.
Good night.
In the daytime, I will meet you as before. You will find me waiting by the ocean floor, building castles in the shifting sands, in the world that no one understands. In the morning, is the morning of my life.
It is beautiful.
It's the moment